We have a lot to cover in today's video, including a potential trade between Montreal and Colorado. We'll discuss how those two might make good trade partners, plus we have some other rumors around the Sharks and Devils. We're going to take a look at tonight's playoff action, critical games for the Maple Leafs and the Oilers. Look at last night's games with the Devils being eliminated. Also an update on Ryan Reynolds and the Ottawa Senators ownership bid. All that and more coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have a lot to cover today. Let's first get started with the playoff recaps. Of course, our first team of round two has been eliminated as of last night. The Carolina Hurricanes put out the New Jersey Devils onto the playoffs with a big overtime victory. 3-2 is a score. 4 games to 1 is the series victory. So pretty good, close, tight game last night. The Devils had a pretty good affair. It's nice to see a close game for a change. Unfortunately, things ended in overtime with something that I absolutely hate to see. Jonas Siegenthaler, defenseman for the Devils, ended up putting the puck out in his own end. So puck over glass, automatic penalty, puts Carolina on the power play. Yes, for fast scores on a deflection, game over, and that is all. So certainly, I feel terrible for Siegenthaler. You don't really want to ever see that happen, especially on a season-ending play. But that's the rules. It's an automatic thing. It's not discretionary in the least. And it's happened at some tough times before. Jack Hughes did play last night, but he was actually rumored to possibly not be playing. There was times, which not long before game time, when they came up for warm-up, that he wasn't doing line rushes. So it was put off some speculation. And some NHL insiders said they had heard earlier in the day there was a chance he may not play. But he was warming up. He just wasn't doing line rushes, so it was unclear. He did end up playing, but he didn't play as much as usual. And Lindy Ruff did acknowledge after the game that he was dealing with an upper body injury, but he played through it. He thought he played pretty well for the time he was on the ice, so you wouldn't necessarily have known it, even though he apparently was in a fair bit of discomfort. So unfortunately, the magical run for the Devils this year has come to an end. Carolina moves on despite missing some key scoring forwards up front. Defensively, they've been strong as ever. Good goaltending, good depth scoring, and they're moving on to the Eastern Conference Final. So congratulations to the Hurricanes for accomplishing that, and congrats to the Devils on a heck of a season. They have improved so much year over year. They've come a long way. They've only got positives to take away from this, and no reason to leave with their head held down. They should be very proud of what they've accomplished this year. Look forward to many more years of success coming. They should be a force in the East for some time with what they've built there. Obviously, we've seen the Dallas Stars pick up a big 5-2 win last night over the Seattle Kraken and take a 3-2 series lead there as well. Seattle had a rough start. Dallas ended up scoring a couple goals early with Wyatt Johnson and Rupe Hintz early in the first. Pavelski adds one early in the second for a 3-0 lead. It looked like it might be a runaway, but then Seattle did have a response and scored 2 quick ones later in the second to make it close 3-2, but then the third period shifted back again towards Dallas. Dallas scored another one. A couple more goals to make it a 5-2 victory. So tonight we have a couple of big important game fives. The Maple Leafs are ready to start here probably in the next 15 or 20 minutes as I record this video. They're facing elimination for the second straight game, down 3-1 to the Florida Panthers, back on home ice in Toronto, where they have not done overly well. They've only won 1 game so far in the playoffs at home. So home ice has not been good to them. Apparently, the team has decided to, when they get back from Florida, instead of going to their homes, they checked into a hotel and decided to try to treat it more like a road game, to try to create that road feel, since they haven't had good success on home ice in these playoffs. So we'll see if they can extend the series or if Florida can close things out tonight. The Edmonton Oilers, of course, trying to take a 3-2 lead after a big win over Vegas in Game 4. This series has been back and forth the entire time, so we'll see what happens. They're going to be in Vegas tonight, so we have a little bit later start. At the same time, the way Edmonton's played, I don't know. I think they should be able to pull ahead tonight, but Vegas is not going to go down lightly, that's for sure. Of course, the Edmonton's without Nurse. Vegas is without Pietrangelo. Both players suspended. Both can return for Game 6. I think, to be honest, between the two, I think this is a bigger deal for Vegas than it is for Edmonton. I think Edmonton has better capacity for other players to step up. To be honest, Darnell Nurse has not even been their best defenseman. He does get paid a lot of money. He does log a lot of minutes, but he hasn't been the greatest. He's definitely overpaid, and as much as it is a loss because he does serve a good purpose back there, but Alex Pietrangelo to me is the far most important defenseman for Vegas. So I think this is a bigger blow to them. Shea Theodore is the next best defenseman, and he has not played well. He's been a bit of a turnover machine and hasn't exactly throughout his career been great in the playoffs compared to regular season. So, and the pressure is going to be more on him. If he can have a way better game, which is tough to imagine, then they'll be all right. Otherwise, I think advantage Edmonton. So we'll see if they can take advantage of that and get a series lead. A couple of quick notes here. That we're getting to some of the rumor mill. Former NHLer, played for the Flyers, Lucas Sedlak, has signed a multi-year deal to head back to Europe. So his days in the NHL are done, at least for now. And the Seattle Kraken have also signed a prospect. They've signed 2022 draft selection from the third round, Ty Nelson. He's a right-shot defenseman from the OHL's North Bay Battalion. So he gets his 3-year entry-level contract officially on the books. Quick update as well. We talked last night about how Ryan Reynolds and the Remington Group's bid. Apparently he's going to pull out for their option to buy the Senators because they were not able to get an exclusive negotiating window with the NCC in the city over the LeBreton Flats land and trying to get the whole new arena situation sorted out. But to be fair, after hearing a lot more details on how all this would work and listening to stuff from more of a legal standpoint, the banking standpoint, I don't think that was really ever a fair request, and I'm not sure they really would have got everything hammered out in 30 days anyway. But there is more word today from Bruce Giriak of the Ottawa Sun saying that Reynolds and his group, I guess, were still a little bit frustrated by the process in general, things kind of taking so long, and I don't know, I mean, things have been dragging on. They're just not happy with how the board of directors and the bankers assigned to handle this have been going about things. So I don't know what that means exactly for the future of the sale. Lots of interesting groups, including the Nico Sparks group, led by a lot of different celebrities, including Snoop Dogg. You've got Michael Andlauer. You got the Kimmel group. I mean, the Weeknd's involved with that group. I mean, there's lots of celebrities, so lots of deep pockets. We'll see what happens. The bids are due on Monday, so hopefully we'll get some kind of word on what was actually submitted, or get speculation on who might be the front runner. At this point, though, I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Reynolds is completely done. I know Elliot Friedman on the Story Two Thoughts podcast today said that he finds it odd, the timing of it, considering the bids are due in a few days. This information coming out now, he doesn't see Ryan Reynolds and his group, willing to offer a $1 billion bid just to drop out a few days beforehand. It just seems odd. Seems like there might be more to the story. Is it a tactic or not? We'll see. Apparently, other groups, according to Ian Mendez of The Athletic, he says that at least the one source of the Nico Sparks group says that they'd be more than happy to let Reynolds join their group as well. So we'll see what happens. It's not a foregone conclusion that Reynolds has nothing to do with this. But definitely some interesting times and some interesting information as things progress there. It has been a slow-moving process, and hopefully it doesn't, deter some of them really good potential buyers on the franchise. Now, on the rumor mill section of the video, I do want to talk about a potential match here for a good trade between the Avalanche and the Canadiens, but I do want to take a look at a couple other items first. Of course, the Devils just eliminated last night. There are rumors already popping up today about their future plans on the offseason here regarding some of their key players that need new contracts. And obviously, New Jersey is a team that has a fair bit of expiring deals, so it's questionable to say what exactly they're going to do. Two big names that both need new contracts. They're going to be looking for big money, include Jesper Bratt and, of course, Timo Meier, acquired near the NHL trade deadline from the San Jose Sharks, was a $10 million qualifying offer. Now, obviously, the goal here when they acquired Meier was to sign him, but you could also say that things haven't worked out the greatest since they picked him up, but it does take time to get acclimated to a new team, new line mates, everything like that. I don't know how they feel about everything. I mean, if you look at his track record and his history, he's a really good hockey player, so I'd suspect that they're still going to try to sign him, but there's a lot of debate over whether or not they can actually afford to keep Bratt and Meier both in the mix. If you look at their salary cap situation on CapFriendly.com or Puckpedia, it shows that they have a lot of availability right now, but they also have a lot of expiring contracts. They've got some defensemen like Ryan Graves and David Severson that are both UFAs. They're likely not coming back. They got some more forwards in the forward group that could be not returning as well, including like Miles Wood. And I know even there's some we're talking about Sharon Govich, maybe not coming back next year. So, at the end of the day, it depends on what the dollar amounts end up being for both of these guys. But depending on as they fill out the rest of their roster and have to leave some room available for raises for some of the younger players that are still coming in their cheaper contracts, it might be tough for them to sign both players. So it is possible that we could see speculation about one maybe being moved until the negotiations with Brad have been long and tough and drawn out for quite some time. I would almost think that the odds of him getting moved are probably greater than Meyer, but you just never know. So I don't imagine New Jersey ever acquired Meyer with the intention of flipping him, but they do know where he's an RFA and would have good value regardless of his performance in the playoffs, that they could probably get a good chunk of their assets back that they gave up for him if they do decide to go down that road. But that's going to be a scenario that's certainly worth watching, as both key RFAs are close to free agent of being a UFA. So they're obviously going to be want to be signed long term, and then both going to want big money. There's an argument that they shouldn't make more than Jack Hughes. So there's a lot to watch and interest on that team. So we'll see where things go. In San Jose, of course, we know that they're open to some big changes, including defenseman Erik Karlsson, but another name that really hasn't gotten a lot of play and attention in the media that very well could be open to be moving as well is Captain Logan Couture. I've seen some reports today suggesting that the Sharks are very much likely to listen on just about anybody, including Couture, who's 34 years old now, has 4 years left at $8 million. He does have a lot of control through his trade protection and his contract. He's a 4-1-0 trade, which gives the Sharks a very small list of teams that they can trade to without needing him to be okay with it and give consent. So that doesn't exactly give them a ton of leverage, but if they want to be able to move some money out and gain some flexibility, there's certainly teams out there that might be interested. Like I said, he's 34. He's still productive. Even on a down season, he's still scoring 25 to 30 goals, putting up 60, 70 points. I would think if he were to get on with a stronger team, he might even be able to rejuvenate himself and possibly do even better production than that. It's certainly a possibility as well. I mean, making $8 million a year, especially if the Sharks have any appetite at all to eat a little bit of that money, even if it's only $1 million, $1.5 million. Let's say they get that down to 6.5, that might make it a lot more, attractive for a lot of teams. So no guarantee that he moves. He's going to have a lot to say over if he does or not. But at the end of the day, Sharks are willing to listen on most of the players, including their captain, as they try to tear things down and get this built up the right way, so they can sustain hopefully a long stretch of competitiveness for many years to come, like they did for a big stretch before under Doug Wilson. Now, of course, the I want to talk about today is a potential match for a trade between Colorado and Montreal. Now, I want to stress this is not a rumor based on media saying that the teams are talking about this. This is just a proposal or a suggestion from Colorado media. Now, this is a suggestion I've seen them post on Twitter. Adrian Dater, who covers the Avalanche, suggested that Montreal and Colorado should talk about a trade that would send Samuel Girard to the Habs in exchange for Josh Anderson. And to me, I've seen this proposal, and I thought it made a lot of sense. So I thought I wanted to bring it to the channel, see what our community here thinks about this deal. And we have a lot of teams, a lot of fans for both teams, and I'd love to know what everybody thinks about this deal. Now, think about it like this. Josh Anderson, the Avalanche definitely need help at forward. There's no doubt about that. They definitely need a center, which he's not, but they could certainly go other routes and other avenues here to try to find another center as well. But they could certainly use both at help at center and the wing. We don't know the status of Val Mashushkin. And of course, like I said, they have a lot of holes in that forward group right now with Landeskog not playing next year. So Anderson has 4 years on his contract at $5.5 million. He's 29 years old. Pretty solid 20, 25 or something, even on occasion in the right scenario. I can see him ending 30 plus goals. Big, strong power forward, willing to drive the net, straight line player. Lots to like. Certainly lots to get offered to the forward. We already know. Now, his name has also been mentioned in the rumor mill quite a lot, mainly because there was lots of interest in him. Not that Montreal was actively trying to trade him. I think their preference was to keep him. They do need some veterans around. He was good with the guys like Caulfield and Suzuki and stuff. So I think they kind of like that dynamic. But now that they've been able to add a little bit more to their team and gone through some other injuries, I think they'd be more open to this than they were before. Going back, Samuel Girard, 25 years old. He's got 4 years left at $5.4 million. Montreal can actually, or it's not 5.4, it's actually $5 million for Girard. So if they didn't do any salary retention, the Habs could actually even save a little bit of money. They get younger, and they get a really solid, good skating, puck-moving defenseman. Now, I know it's not a must by any means, but again, a French-Canadian from Quebec. And then I know, like I said, that's not everything. Not like they want to go and trade for every player just because of their French background, but I know that obviously, that's, important to have players on the team that speak the language. And obviously being the main team in Quebec, a lot of these players would probably look at it as a bit of a chance to play close to home. Now, obviously, depending on what part of Quebec you're from, that may not be super close. It's the big province, but still, at the end of the day, to me, it makes a lot of sense. If you look at the Habs blue line, They're very likely to trade Joel Edmondson this year. So you mix in maybe one or two other veteran players. You still have a guy like David Savard around, Mike Matheson. Gerard could be like that third veteran who could play either first or second pair minutes. Great skater. He could do the power play if you needed him to. He could also play different aspects of other special teams, including penalty kill. Like I said, he's very speedy, good puck mover, and obviously has a lot of experience. He's played a lot of playoff hockey. He has a Stanley Cup to his name. To me, this makes a lot of sense. This could be a win-win for both sides. I mean, Montreal is rumored to be in the mix to do other deals, possibly looking at Pierre-Luc Dubois, as we've talked about before, and others. So there could be a bit of a shift and change in the forward group dynamic anyway, which could make Anderson a little bit more expendable. And the Avalanche could get a guy that helps them. They are rumored to be moving Gerard to get that help, and it could be a match made there. So I'd like to know what everybody thinks on a potential trade between Montreal and Colorado. Do you see this being a good fit for both sides? Let me know who says no to this trade, or do you think both sides would say, this sounds good, let's make it happen? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. We'll talk about it further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with the latest news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.